It's unusual for a Western Buddhist centre for Tibetans to be so strongly associated with it. I think it's partly to do with the fact that His Holiness the Dalai Lama was here 6 years ago. So I think to the local Tibetans, His Holiness's visit made this kind of almost like a place of pilgrimage. It was kind of an endorsement by the Dalai Lama. As you know, the centre started 20 years ago, 1989, at the suggestion of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's the spiritual director of the organisation of which we're a part, the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. And very fortunately, in 1993, Lama Zopa Rinpoche asked Geshe Tsorga to come, and he very kindly accepted Rinpoche's request. And since then, Geshe has been here and guiding us, and the development of the centre from its extremely humble beginnings to the magnificent edifice it is now is largely a result of Geshe-la's inspiring presence. We've had many wonderful activities during Geshe-la's time, including the visit of His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then tonight we have the relics tour.
Many of those statues, many of those reliquaries have been destroyed through wars in various Buddhist countries. And these relics have become available to see with the naked eye. The purpose of the tour is to bless as many people around the world as possible. The relics are so powerful that up till now, very few people had the opportunity to pilgrimage to even see one relic. People would do one pilgrimage in their life to come into contact with one of these relics in a statue or a pagoda, but they'd never see them with the naked eye. With Westerners, it's even getting their head around the phenomena that the mind, the potential of the mind, is so much greater than we seem to think here, and witnessing what these different teachers have done and the power of prayer plus the realizations of these masters that create the phenomena that we call ring cell, or these relics that manifest spontaneously, is something that takes a bit of stretching, for Westerners.
That's really cool.
That's cool. Reba Rinpoche, he was put in prison when the Chinese came into Tibet, And he used that time to change his mind and to take, it's like taking tough situations and to use it on, what we call use it on the path. So he'd imagine that as he was getting tortured, that because he was, someone else wasn't. Or that he'd imagine as he was doing that, he was taking on all the suffering of all the inmates, all the people in the prison, as if it was all his own. So he got to a point where when he even would do that for the guy who was torturing him. And then in the end, he was, as soon as he'd hear the footsteps of him coming, his mind would get incredibly happy. So we call that transforming his mind. So he was really joyful. What happens is that these great masters have trained their whole lives for that moment of death, or what we might call clinical death. And after clinical death, there is still a process of the energy moving gently into the heart and then stopping. And at that point, they rest their mind and stop their mind on a meditation at that time, on what we call the clear light. And some of these great lamas will maintain that for a number of weeks. So at that time, they're not decaying, they smell like a rose, they are sitting in meditation posture. It's quite a phenomena, and this is now being documented, and just a month ago, scientists monitored one of the lamas in Dharamsala, one of the Dalai Lamas, through that process using MRI to see what the activity in the brain was. After the cremation, it's always very interesting with a very high lama to check in the ashes of what is left. And in there, they find these different substances, these pearl-like objects, these stone-like objects, even hair, silver hair, other things that they call ring cell. We have one lama here, Geshe Lama Konchog, who died 8 years ago, was only 90 pounds or so when he died, but they found 160 pounds of this substance, different substances, in the cremation ashes. Another phenomena was that his eyes and his tongue and his heart didn't burn. His eyes and his tongue were clear crystal. So this is a sign of a fully enlightened being. And many of these great masters have kept their practices very private. Nobody really knows the level of realization of many of these masters.